And he said that he would, and so this is John Dyckman, and speaking about scapegoats at work.
Well, I got interested in the whole topic of scapegoating because I was dealing with its casualties, working in a psychiatric clinic in Vallejo, and as I was telling Steve that I was often finding people in crisis who had felt that they had good, previously good performance at work, but now there was some change in the organization, there was some change in the boss or the supervisor, and their life was a living hell. Some of these people were suicidal and some were frankly homicidal. And having had some experience myself of being scapegoated and being in organizations that scapegoat, I began to notice how people inadvertently participated in their own stigmatization. It's a little bit like buying a Ford. You buy a Ford and all of a sudden you're seeing them everywhere. And I'm afraid that the morning papers are still full of examples of it. Sometimes it's used very deliberately and consciously as a strategy to control and intimidate and frighten people. And sometimes the process occurs quite unconsciously. You just get to not liking a particular person, or all of a sudden you see that one employee who seems to be, quote, a problem employee. So what I want to talk to you about today, I wrote a whole book about this, and it's called Scapegoats at Work, which is practical advice for people who are trying to cope with the effects of scapegoating, whether they're the target or whether they're a manager who is all of a sudden noticing a really high turnover in the department and wondering what's going on. Because scapegoating hurts organizations. Sometimes very good organizations, non-profit organizations, people who are really dedicated to doing good for other people, just turn on each other like pack of vicious dogs, not like the good dogs here, but like the vicious dogs. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is a subset of this process, of the scapegoating process. It's one that you might immediately find useful. And as you know, scapegoating depends on the ability to transfer the blame. The original biblical story is of transferring the sins of the community onto the head of this particular poor goat in Leviticus. So transferring blame from one person to or group to another. And this process is very similar to one that as psychotherapists you deal with on a daily basis, the process of projection. So today we're going to look at different ways in which you can dissolve projections, and particularly how you can begin to prepare a countertrance and help the people you work with prepare a countertrance to cope with their own tendency to participate in being the object of projections. Now we use the term projection when a person or a group attributes their own thoughts or feelings to another person or group and acts as if those thoughts or feelings originated outside of themselves. Projection occurs normally, as a normal stage of development. When the 4-year-old child claims that his doll spilled the juice, he really believes it. It's not just a facile way of avoiding blame. It's a heartfelt belief that this occurred to them. Many projections are essentially harmless, the psychopathology of everyday life. I invite you to think for a moment about your best friend. Now consider the trait that you most dislike about your best friend. Now ask yourself, might this trait or behavior also exist in you?